Welcome to the Power Factor Show.
The bandwidth for this episode of the Power Factor Show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. FirearmsRadio.tv.
Sponsored by Taylor Freelance, Rainier Ballistics, Hodgson Powders, and JPL Precision.
Hey everybody, we're here again at the Granite Falls Sportsman's Club, and again I'm joined by Dave Jeffrey. Thanks for coming on again, Dave.
My pleasure.
We're talking about a device called a ShotKam, and a ShotKam is a fairly unique training device, I think, in terms, is it primarily just for shotgun shooting, or can it be used for other?
It can be used for other applications. They have bow mounts and other type of attachments for it. It's a purpose-built shooting camera, so it's the intention is strictly that. It's not designed like a GoPro or something like that, which is a very versatile camera. This is more purpose-built to be able to see and record what your eye would normally see.
Right.
And so that's its purpose.
Okay. In terms of training, how have you used this to improve or work on your shooting, or have you worked on it with students and stuff like that also?
Two different ways that I found this to be quite interesting. One of which is for yourself. You can see things that you're doing
that you swear you probably weren't doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was not coming back on the target. Well, in fact, you are.
Yeah.
And it shows that because you'll be lined up on a target beautifully. You'll make the call, and then come back. You'll have gone past it and then try to catch back up. And that just stacks the odds against you in any kind of moving target sport. And be it trap, skeet, sporting clays, anything along those lines, it really increases your challenge significantly. And if you can break that habit, your scores will definitely improve.
Yeah.
The other thing is, how do you explain lead to a student?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Somebody that's starting out in shooting, 2 feet in front of it, 3 feet, it's almost meaningless. If they can see a target that's being hit, what lead looks like, because a lot of times you tell people they're first starting out to make sure you get in front of the target. Well, to them, getting in front of the target could be an inch.
Yeah.
And they'd swear that they were 3 feet, but in reality, they're shooting at the target. Well, on a moving target, you're going to be behind it.
That's also an interesting point about lead, is that the three different types of lead: the swing through, the pull away, and the sustained lead. And that, I think, with the ShotKam, you really will see the effects of the three and how they're applied with the swing through, where you're literally going to be starting out behind the bird and then getting through it. A pull away would be you're going to mount onto the bird, you're going to ride it for a little bit, and then at the very end of it, pull away from it, and then a sustain where you're starting in front, staying in front all the way through to the shot. So why don't you go ahead and take a look at this here, and you can see what it looks like, and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
So included in the basic kit is the ShotKam itself, which it comes with a 12 gauge mount. Other mounts are optional to it. It's a very water resistant device. It has a built-in battery. It interfaces through a USB cable and will interface with your computer, plus it has a built-in SD type memory chip, and it just mounts to the barrel. It has a rubber lined clamp, so it won't mar the barrel in any way, shape, or form. Allen wrench to tighten it too. One of the interesting things about the ShotKam, turn it on here, is it also has an alignment laser that lets you see where the ShotKam is aligned to, and there's software alterations you can make in the programming that comes with it to change its viewpoint should that be required for your particular gun. this allows you to set it up so that the ShotKam is going to be pointing where your eye is going to be focusing and where your gun is going to be hitting.
So in terms of setup, how much trouble did you have initially when you first attached your gun, getting it dialed in and so it's looking effectively where your shotgun is pointing, and then how did you confirm that?
So I shoot a Beretta 682, the same
Right.
same thing you do.
Right.
And for me on that gun, it was just nuts on to begin with.
Okay.
So I found that was very easy. Some of the other guns that I've attached it to, it's been a few inches off, but so far I haven't had to make any of the software adjustments. Shotgun throwing roughly a 30-inch pattern at its intended range. If you're off an inch or two, it really
Right.
doesn't matter.
Right.
It's
Right.
You're not trying to punch the center out of a bullseye. You're trying to intersect a moving target with your shot pattern. So I found it to be quite easy. And during daylight, you need a large, like the side of a lightly colored building or something along those lines. With the red laser, you need something that's kind of shaded and a good reflective surface to be able to see it from a distance.
Okay.
It's not going to stand out in bright sunlight against a brightly lit building. It's just not going to see it very well.
Right.
But as long as you have those conditions, it's very easy to set up and line up. I haven't yet used it on either an autoloader or a pump, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works. Everything that we've used it on so far has been with over and unders.
Right.
It has software biasing for the G meter inside of it. That's how it records. It's on a continuous record loop,
Okay.
but it'll only write to the card for a period of time before and after it senses a accelerometer impulse. And so you can set the G meter on it to for when it trips. Autoloader's got more moving parts, as do a pump, than an over and under, so it can get false tripping, and that's why it has the software bias.
Right. And so in terms of, I think you mentioned before, like in an over-under, is that when you load the gun, or I should say when you close the barrels, effectively that's what trips it, and then it starts recording at that spot.
It'll wake up if it's been in a sleep mode. When you close the action, it's enough that it'll wake it up, and then on the recoil of the gun, and you can set it for like sporting clays, where it'll record a long period of time to shoot both of the two targets.
Pairs,
exactly, as opposed to trap or
if you're just dealing with
where you're
singles.
single shot.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's all software configurable.
Okay.
And it was really quite easy to work through the software menus.
Did you have any issues at all in terms of trying to get it set up or dialed in, or was it pretty good out of the box?
Out of the box, it does okay. I've done a little bit of tweaking on it, and I'm still kind of playing with it to get it exactly where I want, but I was certainly able to get usable footage right off the get-go with virtually no setup. I mean, basically it was mounted on the gun, turn it on, go out and go shooting.
Yeah.
And that's what they kind of recommend is mess around with it when you have a little bit of time with it, but go play with it first and see what you got, and then go from there. And I think that's probably good advice.
So what is the weight of something like this?
The weight is, I think they said it was like 7 or 8 ounces.
Okay.
So you will notice a difference
in terms of swing dynamics.
You will notice a difference, but I didn't find it detrimental.
Okay.
I mean, if I was missing targets with that on the barrel, it was my fault, not.
Definitely.
I can't go blaming it on the ShotKam. That's just me screwing up.
So how easy would you want to try attaching it to mine to see how easy it is in terms of trying to attach it?
So they recommend not sliding it down the barrel. However, I do that. And the reason being is they don't want you to roll the rubber off of there, because as you can see, it's just got rubber nubbies. But I found that if you loosen it up sufficiently and are a little bit careful, it really isn't too terribly difficult. I just get it to the first thread on either of the 2 mount screws is engaged, and the rest is loosened up. The reason I do that is this thing has a rubber rib, and then there is a mill on the ShotKam to keep it lined up, so the rotation is going to be the same. And it's easier to keep it lined up for me. It's easier to slide it on that way. So if we just kind of do this, and we just kind of gently wiggle it down here so we don't. And I like it a fair bit back so that the balance is still rather good. Their recommendation is a little bit closer to the barrel.
Closer to the muzzle, you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I like it a little bit closer to to the stock, but that's just personal preference.
So that's an interesting point there in terms of closer to the muzzle.
And your action's open, and your barrel's clear, because I'm going to put my face in front of your gun.
Yeah, I probably should have shown that in advance, but
yes, but so
gun, opened empty gun.
Right, we always, one doesn't like to do this particular maneuver unless you can see nicely down the barrel so that there's nothing there. I like my face just the way it is.
Yeah. In terms of, you mentioned about being located closer to the barrel. In terms of just the muzzle blast that you get from the smoke and whatnot, does the camera pick that up in terms of?
It does pick it up. I mean, you can't say that it doesn't, because it does.
Right.
And it'll obscure slightly. That's not a major amount, but you will definitely see in the video footage that it'll kind of fog for an instant. And two things. First off, you are throwing a shot pattern out there, and that will disturb. I mean,
definitely.
Given the right conditions, your eye can pick up the shot pattern going through if it's backlit the correct way.
Right.
And this will see it too. And plus, even though it's smokeless powder, there's still
smoke.
There's still
It's smokeless powder, not smoke-free powder.
Exactly.
So, right.
So now, why don't you take it and point the gun in a safe direction and close the gun and mount it and see what you think of it.
So I can feel, of course, I have a fairly forward position here with my hand, but it does feel to me like there's
moves forward.
Right. You can feel a little more weight here in the front hand. It probably definitely somewhat improves your swing follow through. If you're a person who had problems with your swing follow through, this will definitely make you continue.
Well, some people use barrel weights to change the balance of their gun.
And you see that actually a lot on over-unders where guys will have a barrel weight under the gun. But no, it's not bad. I could see maybe after a full day of shooting with that on there, that might be a little bit fatiguing of just the extra weight.
Well, I don't think it's intended to go out there and
you're not. Yeah, it's designed to be a training aid and
Exactly. You're out there to shoot, somewhere between 20 and 50 shots, and go back and review your results and try to make some changes to your techniques.
Exactly. Now, in terms, and this is kind of funny, we were having a discussion about this before. In terms of interface, I was asking the question before, it'd be really cool if you had like a Bluetooth interface off this thing where you could then look at it with like an Android or an iPhone or something. But then we started thinking this through a little bit more, that if somebody had one of these things attached to their gun during a competition and somebody else, their buddy, friend, whatever, is sitting back there in the background analyzing the video from shot to shot to shot,
calling in there,
they could literally dial the shooter in saying, you're behind or whatever. And I realize there's no coaching, but
well, that's just a case where the rules would be written against that. The whole idea about competition is fair and equitable.
Right.
We'll always find people that are trying to be on sportsmanship, but the reality is most of the shooting people I've been around, I don't know of a better group. I really don't.
Oh, definitely.
So there will always be those that
will. So either the lack of a Bluetooth feature is either just an oversight and they didn't have the ability or technology to do it, or they were looking at this from a standpoint of somebody may
either or it's just one of those things that this is first good cut at things, and I think they did a pretty well thought out job. There are other barrel cameras that are out there, and I looked at them, and this just seemed to be the best made with the most thought involved. The others were more of a continuous video feed rather than
they were not. Sounds like it's purpose built. Obviously, where the other ones sound like they may have been adapted to
where
to a
they're
application.
Basically a round body cylinder body camera that is being used in a shooting environment as opposed to something that was truly purpose built.
Right. Okay, the $1 million question is, what does something like these run?
So that's coming in at about $650, which isn't cheap, but at the same point in time, what are you holding in your hand?
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're trying to get better at something, nothing comes free. And my dad and I split the price of it. It's something that we kind of want to be able to use with family and friends to
and
help out.
And that's a really good point in that you can take a newer shooter or somebody and bring them out here and hook this up and figure out where they're missing. If you went into an instructor and did a similar thing, that's going to be probably depending on what their fees are, but you go to an instructor a few times and I can see the cost getting pretty close to a professional half day, like a Gil Ash type person, I think you're looking about $400 for half a day of instruction.
Yep.
So if you are in a position where you can kind of self-evaluate and you can put it on there and say, yeah, I know I'm behind, or I can now I'm seeing behind, I need to instruct my lead or do this or whatever, or better match the sync of the bird, or better match the line of the bird, or whatever, that you're in a position you can do that. I can really see where this would, pay off pretty quick, especially if you have, like you said, a lot of friends who are able to make use of it.
And one of the things, I'll be flat out, their website was great as far as being able to show people lead just off of the promotional video for that, because they show both clay targets and hunting, bird hunting, and being able to see, okay, what does lead look like?
Right.
What should you feel? And I always kind of throw the word feel in there, because if you try to measure lead, you're going to miss.
I'd become a realist here in that probably 95% of shotgun shooting now is feel.
Yeah,
and maybe even more than that. But
it's focus on what you're trying to hit.
Exactly.
Not on the gun.
You just work on let the instincts and feel take or solve the problem for you, rather than trying to analyze it and figure it out on your own.
People will analyze shooting to death, and doing so is usually the kiss of death. There's lots and lots and lots of techniques, and there's a lot of really good techniques, but most all of it is set up prior to. When you call pull, that's when turn that brain off.
Yep, shut it off. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of video, we'll take some a minute here, and we'll go through and look at some videos here and analyze them, so we can let you guys see how this thing works. Okay, so the green light is on.
Okay, so see a green LED?
I see green.
You see green?
Well, wait a minute. Now I don't see green. Did it shut off, or did it shut off?
Close your action, then open it back up again, and see if you see green again.
Yes.
See green?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and close your action.
Paul.
Okay, just take like maybe 3 or 4 pairs.
Yeah, that sounds good. Paul. Over it.
That's what it looks like.
Yep.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that second one I was definitely over the top of it, not down in front. Paul.
I'd say you were dead center on those.
Paul. In this sequence here, we have a rabbit target in combination with an incoming target. The rabbit is being thrown from the right going to the left, and the incoming target is coming out of trap 6. So let's roll this and see what it looks like. So here comes the rabbit, and you can see the shot is fired and goes over the rabbit, and then the incoming target is taken cleanly. Again, in the next one here, you can see that when the shot is fired, again, it goes over the rabbit escapes cleanly. Now this one here, you'll notice that they're holding the gun lower than the rabbit, which is what the key thing is here, hitting the rabbit. And we'll see that again in the next shot here. Again, gun is held lower, rabbit is broken. That's the key on shooting rabbits, is that most people end up firing over the top of the rabbit, where you want to actually be shooting their feet off. This next combination here is a target that is coming over your right shoulder, thrown in combination with the targets being thrown straight at you. The two are thrown as a simultaneous pair. The target distance is pretty close, somewhere around maybe 20 to 25 yards or so on the incoming target, and probably about 20 yards or so on the outgoing target. The key to taking this combination here is to shoot the target going away from you first, but get onto it quickly, so you have time to get on the incoming target coming at you. That's where most people would make a mistake here, is that they wouldn't take the outgoing target quick enough. In this combination here, you can really see clearly the position of the crosshairs relative to the target when it's taken here. So let's roll it and take a look. So here we see nice, perfect lead, probably about 1 foot of lead or so on both targets. Again, they're pretty close, pretty fluffy, going pretty slow. You can almost shoot directly at them, but obviously you don't want to be quite directly at them here, as you would end up missing. This is a nice combination of targets here where you can really see clearly the position of the gun relative to the targets. I think this does a good job of showing what perfect lead looks like. I think one of the other advantages of using the ShotKam is not only just showing you what proper lead looks like, but also exposing what you might call, I'll call it fundamental technique problems. In this particular combination here, you have a target that's being thrown quartering away from the left in combination with a target being thrown quartering coming in from the right. In this particular case here, the shooter has what we'll call a nasty tendency of pulling the gun back toward the trap when the bird is launched. The interesting thing is that a lot of times people will deny that they have problems or anything like that until they actually see it on video. And of course the video doesn't lie. So let's take a look at this sequence here and you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, the bird races out away from the shooter and they pull the gun back toward the trap. And even though they're hitting the birds, it's just not a good way to actually, to shoot them, of pulling the gun back. And it's a technique issue that really needs to be resolved. And that's one way to demonstrate to somebody that there's an issue going on here by actually showing them the video and letting them see for themselves. This next combination of videos here shows a really good example of how to shoot birds correctly versus how not to do it. In the first sequence here, this is actually Dave shooting, and to set the scene here, you have two targets thrown as following pair quartering out from the right going to the left. And Dave uses a technique here called collapsing lead, and what collapsing lead is that you let the bird basically come to the barrels and collapse the lead the target to the gun. Now in this sequence here, it starts out very quickly, and Dave's shooting the very first pair, or first bird of the pair, and then letting the second bird come to the barrels here, and you'll see that here. So let's take a look. Okay, so as we actually see here, it's the second bird coming in, but you can see the interesting thing is that the gun is fairly stable. So the gun swinging there is fairly stable and then just pushes away slightly there and getting in sync with the bird. So again, breaks the first bird, gets in sync with the second and breaks it. Again, we'll see here, gets in sync with the first bird, holds it steady, waits for the second one to come in, and then breaks it. Okay, so compare that to this next sequence here. It's the same target arrangement. You have two following pair of birds going out. In this case here, the shooter's breaking the first bird very well, but it's interesting to note here what they do in the second bird. As the second bird comes to the barrel, you'll notice that basically the barrels are not moving. They come to the barrel, the lead looks correct, but when the shooter breaks the shot, the target doesn't break. And after analyzing this, you can look at it and see that there's very little barrel movement, and hence very little of the barrel getting in sync with the target. So let's take a look here and see what that looks like. So here's the first target coming in, good sync movement, but you can see the barrel stops. There's no movement in the barrels when the shot is taken on the second bird, and correspondingly the second bird is missed. So again, bird's coming in, movement, in sync, bird breaks, and then the barrel stops and the target's missed. We'll see another one here, good sync movement with the target, and then well out ahead there and missed. Now, this next one here is kind of interesting in that they missed the first bird, but then hold and get barrel movement and in sync with the second bird and break the shot and end up breaking that bird with a good amount of lead because that target's well out there. So you can see what appeared to be normally about, say, 1 to 2 feet of lead all of a sudden turns into about 3, maybe 3.5 feet of lead on a dropping target there at distance. Okay, so thanks again, Dave, for coming on and talking to us about the ShotKam. If you want more information about it, you can go to their website, which is www.shotcam.com, cam spelled K-A-M, not C-A-M, and you can check out the product there and take a look at it. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about this or questions for Dave, throw us an email at powerfactorshow@gmail.com, and we'll get it answered for you. Thanks. Ba-dum,